Brian Harniman, Executive Vice President of Marketing and Distribution at Kayak, in charge of the relationship with the customer and negotiating some of our larger deals.
So tell me about how Kayak stays ahead of the market.
Sure. So right now, obviously, the market is a bit rough for consumers, right? They're looking for value on their dollar. And Kayak actually is in a good place because as people want to find more value, we actually give them the broadest search to do that. We have 140 sites that we look at, bring back results for, and the consumer can sort and filter and pick the best travel product either by price or by other sort of amenity that they want to search for.
And what about the process that you need to go through at this sort of quite tricky time to actually stay ahead and keep ahead?
Sure.
How do you start innovating and keeping innovating?
Yeah, I think that from our base, we have very large distribution partners like AOL. We do a lot of marketing to consumers directly with Google. Ultimately, we have to be as useful to the consumer as we can be. So the sorting and filtering capabilities that I talked about, it's really important. I mean, this is a way for the consumer to find exactly what they want and then have the ability to book direct with the supplier. They can go to an airline site and book there, or they can book through an online travel agent that we have a deal with.
Do you think you've cracked the business model? Do you think you've actually, it's going to be the same product from here on in?
I think every business model will change over time as we find sort of ways to become more profitable or expand new businesses that we really haven't looked at yet. We're very happy with the way we run the business right now. The ability to find someone, qualify them as a lead, and sell them is very profitable, and it scales quite nicely. So I'll say we're happy with where we are, but I'd never say that we're sort of locked down. We'll always grow and change.
So tell me about that R&D side of what Kayak does.
Yeah, one of the things, and I joined Kayak just recently about 5 months ago, and I love our R&D structure. Our engineers are amazing. We've got 50 folks that are in Concord, Massachusetts, and we actually get all the customer feedback, and it's distributed equally to people within the company. So we have real-time interactions with folks that are having trouble or issues using our site, and that drives the engineering team to sort of fix these issues. Instead of having an operations team that can sort of catalog and collect and maybe pass it off to a development team, now we have engineers that are saying, this lady from Topeka, Kansas doesn't understand how to use our hotel search. Let me talk directly to her and figure out what the issue is, and we'll fix it in 20 minutes. And it's really empowering for the engineers. They're directly connected with the customers. I love it. It's one of the most powerful things about our company.
Are you seeing the way that customers are using the web changing faster than you can change to keep up? So, for example, sort of personal assistance, looking for price drop alerts, those sorts of things. Someone was talking the other day about not just price, but about bringing their air miles in as well. What sorts of things can you see changing that you'll have to keep up with?
Yeah, I think the way that, certainly the way customers are traveling is changing, right? The way they're looking for value on a dollar, they're going for sort of shorter haul flights. They're trying to make sure that they're not flying on days when they generally would, right? Avoiding rush hour in the skies. So I think the product by itself is very flexible, the interface is very flexible, but also this direct conduit of information that we're getting from the customers. Hey, this is something that I'm trying to do. My executive assistant is going to try to help me book, but I need to see the same site as her at the same time. We'll develop products to sort of deal with that market as we sort of become aware of them by the customers telling us. So,
how do you best utilize that customer data? What are you doing with it?
So the customer data, as far as the issues?
Yeah, some of the data that they give you in terms of their habits, their.
So one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to expose more customers to the fact that Kayak has a great hotel and a great rental car search. And as we sort of look at customer trends on the website, we can message them in flow. So if you do an air search on Kayak, you'll see, hey, have you tried our hotel site? We can get you to sort of try both of them. We're an analytics-driven company, so we see what customers do on the site, and generally it's all about getting the most desired result out of them. We want customers to use Kayak, we want them to use our search engine, we want them to sort and filter, but we want them to click, qualify themselves as a lead, and buy elsewhere. So it's really sort of all about getting the customer to take that last step. We read the data every day.
What sort of drop-off is there between the looking and the clicking?
So looking and booking is sort of always the biggest problem, and as we sort of talked about today.
Can you give me a percentage roughly?
I can't, but what I can tell you is the way Kayak is structured, we have multiple points of exit for the consumer, so it's not all about sort of getting to this one terminus where I'm buying a ticket, I'm buying a hotel room. There's ad products on the rail of Kayak, which you can look at it as a customer, there's all this information that you can sort of interact with in the core search results. So our exit rates are actually very high because we're asking the consumer to just look at more information.
How does your model change over different territories? I mean, we've heard a lot about the US sort of model over here. What's the difference, say, UK, Europe-based, and talking India?
The US versus the UK, clearly there's a difference in the way the air market is run. There's no hub-and-spoke carriers. There's no connecting flights. You fly point to point. And there's a lot of low-price carriers. So just the way you address that market is you want to make sure that you have the broadest choice, as Kayak is sort of what we're built to do, and make sure that customers have the brands and the folks that they're sort of interested in interacting with. So we have a team on the ground in London, and we want to make sure that we have all the suppliers, and we have fairly broad relationship with hoteliers over the world. So it's really sort of market by market. We make sure that we connect with the folks that consumers want to buy from and book from.
Has Kayak got to the point where it's not so much about you're the most innovative or the only thing in the market now, but it's about being the biggest or the best customer experience?
We've always wanted to be the best customer experience. I mean, that's sort of what drives the engineers, and the engineers again drive the company. As far as being the biggest, there's real reasons from a scale perspective that makes sense to us. Ultimately, we want to have the most revenue per employee that we can, and that's sort of the metric that we look at every day.
And who are your, say, top two biggest competitors?
I mean, sure, TripAdvisor is a gigantic company. I mean, they've got a lot of editorial sort of prowess and sites that they manage. I think that TripAdvisor is
So you're looking for additional content or additional services in the sort of more research and looking phase?
So clearly we want more research on the consumer to do more research on Kayak and Kayak sites. We have a site called Travel Post, which customers can use, and it's sort of our TripAdvisor-esque site. We have about 400,000 reviews on hotels. The interesting thing about Travel Post is, as a consumer, I can come in and tell you a little bit about myself, and I'll show you on TripAdvisor stuff that people like you have put on. So I'll see people with, that are 35 to 50 that have 3 kids, and I can actually see results from and ratings from them, rather than sort of a broad swath of stuff that may not make too much sense to me.
Are you thinking of folding that into the main Kayak proposition anytime soon? If it's quite a sort of a different place to go at the moment. I wouldn't necessarily put the two together.
Yeah, it's a different destination site. Travel Post information is on Kayak already. If you do a hotel search and go to our properties page or the property detail page, you'll actually see ratings and results from Travel Post surfaced. I don't know that we've made any sort of brand decisions on what we'll do with Travel Post. I think it's a ratings and review company. Yeah. And Kayak is really more of a search company.
So if there's one thing that's going to be something to look out for at Kayak for the course of next year,
I think we're going to continue to refine our services. I mean, we really are sort of listening to consumers every day and trying to get better. We'll continue to sort of market ourselves in the way we have. There's not going to be any changes in strategy. But I'll tell you that it's a great time to look for companies, and certainly content companies, to buy. And we'll be continually on the lookout for that. So
we'll watch out for it.
There's a lot of stuff that'll go on.
Thank you very much.
Very welcome.